G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Uneducated Entrepreneurs as I whack the mic around. My name is Dan. Normally we would have Pete with us, but he's just moved. So we have the beautiful Caytlan. She's on this side actually. On my, you know what, I'm probably doing that wrong. I always do it wrong. Pete has just moved, so he's got no internet or reception. So he'll be in hopefully next week. But we have Caytlan on my left or right, whichever one is. Caytlan, how you going?
I'm good, thank you.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, cool. I'm Caytlan. I'm 23 years old and I run a creative agency based in Brisbane called Rebel Agency. So originally we were just a talent agency representing diverse talent across Queensland and Melbourne. We're still doing that, but now we're also doing like campaigns for brands. We're doing social media content for brands, social media marketing, studio hire, studio shoots, just a bunch of everything that you can think of that's creative.
There you go. Wow. So that's
Yeah.
Caytlan in a nutshell. She does lots of fashion stuff. Funny story, I actually met her while she was working at Ampol. And then she's like, oh yeah, I've got this business. Did my ears perk up or did they perk up? I think I switched off doing Uber Eats. I'm like, so tell me about your business. And so since then, you've changed quite a bit with your agency and what you're doing. You've moved from the coast. You no longer work at Ampol, which is great. Ampol, by the way, is a petrol station for all those international viewers that we don't have. But yep, that's okay. Before we get a bit more into Caytlan's business and how she got into it, if you missed, I do apologize. It's been 2 weeks since you've seen us. Probably should have done this before I got her to introduce herself. But life's been busy. Caytlan has been ready to go for the last 2 weeks. Yeah, it has been. But then Pete's been sick, and then moving. And then I was just like, we're just going to do one, and we'll get her on again when Pete's here. So my apologies for our recent / regular 2 viewers that we have. We haven't been on. But last week's episode will be above Caytlan's head. Not last week's, 3 weeks ago. The last episode will be above Caytlan's head. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. Moving on, get that out of the way first up. So your business is fashion.
Yes.
How'd you get into it?
When I was 15, I was like a photographer, just shooting my friends originally, and then it moved into shooting models that were signed for brands. So like I was 16 and shooting social content for Dickies and like household names that people know of, which is crazy to think back on because I was quite terrible at photography then.
What did you do right then? How did you get into that then? Just people? Yeah.
And like harassing people.
Nice.
So like I would like message Dickies and then one day they actually messaged me back and they were like, hey, we love your work.
Nice.
Do you want to like shoot some stuff for us?
Yeah.
But yeah, I noticed that a lot of the models I was working with that were represented weren't necessarily diverse and their agencies themselves weren't inclusive at all. In terms of like size, height, all of that stuff. Yeah, so I was just like, this is kind of shit, but didn't think anything of it, kept doing my little photography stuff. And then I went into uni to be a teacher. I was going to be an English teacher and what was I going to do? English and something else. I got 2 years into it and I was kind of like, oh, you know what? Like, I haven't used my camera in a while, but I'm still quite passionate about the fashion industry. So that's where Rebel Talent at the time was born.
There you go. How'd you come up with the name? These are also just questions that you haven't got, so prepare yourself for that. No. How did you come up with Rebel Talent?
Okay, everyone's going to be like, I called this, but I love the David Bowie song. And I was like listening. I was trying to think of a name and I was on a date with my ex. It was like our 6-month anniversary. And
Cute.
the song started playing and I was like, oh my God, Rebel Talent. That could work. And then there we go.
David Bowie was the inspiration. I love it.
Yes.
Well, that's good. And so obviously, have you always just had a knack for fashion or?
yes
Just
and no.
mm,
Yes and no. Like growing up, I remember when I was in school and watching like Victoria's Secret runways. Don't know if I should have been allowed to watch that. But I was like, idolizing these models, and I was like, oh my goodness, I love the industry as a whole.
mm,
Um, Watching like high fashion runway, it was always about like runway. I love runway.
okay.
Um, which is quite exciting because I'm doing a bit of runway stuff this year. But
Yes, I've seen. We'll get into that
yeah, we'll get.
later.
But yeah, so like I've always grown up like my mum's always called me a dag because I dress weird,
Mm,
and it's yeah, I've always found that like clothes are like quite self-expression-y, I guess. Um,
okay.
so yeah, it's kind of like I've always kind of filtered and flowed through the fashion industry, just never been good enough to be a designer. So that
Yeah.
was kind of out of the question.
It only
Um,
comes with practice, right? These days, you could probably throw something together and be like, "This is fashion." That could be a very, very bigoted, might not be the right word, but very stereotypical point of view from my point of view.
I
But
just I'm not well versed with a sewing machine, so I
oh yeah, right,
don't think it would
okay,
work for me. But
yeah,
I still do a bit of like photography and stuff like that now. But I
yeah,
think where I'm at is very much so like
mm,
building and representing models and doing all the business stuff, because as much as I hate it at times, I do love it.
yeah,
It's kind of like a love-hate relationship with like
yeah,
doing your accounting and doing the emails and like doing all that stuff. You're like, I hate this, but then once in a few weeks you'll get this really big motivation to just like sit on
get
your
it done.
laptop and do it all in one go, and then you feel so good. So
Yeah,
I think that's where I'm very much just so like
pointing your
gonna
strengths.
say it's more the
Yeah,
like business side rather
yeah.
than going off and being a photographer, because I've done that. It's not exciting.
Not that lucrative, unfortunately. I mean, it can be, depending on who you're shooting for, I suppose. But
Yeah.
yeah. So that's how you got into fashion. And so you recently in the last like month switched to an agency now. So
Yes.
you were rebel talent, and now you've switched to agency.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us how that came about.
Okay, this is gonna sound crazy, but I was at my house. It was 8 p.m. at night, and I got a
Hmm.
call from my friend who lives around the corner, Gabby, who's also the creative director of the agency. And
Hmm.
she was like, "You need to come over. Ryan's here." So Ryan is our good friend who does a bit of everything. So he works with high profile clients. He does like
Nice.
10K branding jobs, like minimum.
Yeah, yeah,
That guy that you're like, what does that man do? But he like
yeah. It's always got the latest thing, and it's like he's so fancy, but what's
um,
he do?
worked for like Dazed magazine, Oyster magazine, like a bunch of fashion stuff.
Mm,
So yeah, we were pretty much like, I was like, yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there. I drove the 5 minutes around the corner, had my boyfriend with me because I was like,
yeah.
you're coming too. Um, and we were sitting around a table just like chatting until midnight about everything, because he was like, I believe in you guys, like you're going to get some bit done, but to do
Mm,
that you need to do something different, because now everyone's doing what you're doing. You
yeah,
started it, now everyone wants to follow. And
yeah,
I was like, oh, what do you mean? And he's like, you need to be a full ass like agency,
yeah.
not just a talent agency. Offer everything in house. So pretty much what we do is offer everything in house now. So
Mm,
if a client is looking for a model for an e-commerce shoot, we're like, well, we can shoot it as well.
yeah,
We can do the social media BTS content. We can do the video. We can do literally the casting for the model. We can do all of that. We
yeah.
can manage your social media as well. Um, and then we also have a publication under Rebel Rebel Agency that we're launching in the next month called
Oof,
Culture. Yep.
fancy.
Yeah, so it's like like an exclusive take on lifestyle and fashion culture in Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
so that's exciting.
Hmm. Very
And
nice.
that was him. He was like, you need to have like some kind of written element, keep people on your website.
Mm,
And so I thought about it. I got home and I thought about it. And within 2 days, I'd redone our whole website, bought the domain for Rebel Rebel Agency.
my
Um,
goodness, would not have been cheap.
it was
Oh,
It was
What, like
fine.
$26?
Yeah.
No, yeah, no, I get that. I'm just like, 'cause I
Uh,
was going through, like, just going through all of the different domains. Like, agencies, one of the more expensive ones, but
yeah, it was expensive, but it looks so good on email. Like people are like .com. I'm like .agency. Thank you.
yeah, it's like, get it right, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was how the agency side was, I guess, born because like he literally is just there to make sure we do well because he believes in us so much.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously, when it gets to a point where we're getting 10K jobs, we'll hand them over to him. But
okay.
I
I
find that
mean, you could do them as well, could you not? Like, what's stopping you from doing the 10K jobs?
I just don't have the time. Like I'd have
Yeah,
to
that's fair.
be on anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, my whole like part of my uni degree is fashion branding, so I know how to do all of it. I just
Hmm.
like it's very time consuming. I get why
Gotcha.
people be charging the most,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair enough. So then, with that, before you turn into an agency, what did your typical week? So we'll do your typical week/day before your agency, and now what it looks like after that. So what would your typical day look like in the talent side of things before agency, into your week as well versus now? How has that changed?
Is it like cringe to say every day is like different? Because it's like there's no one set day because
Yeah.
there's always something we're working on. So
Hmm.
it could be one week I really need to smash out a bunch of test shoots for models that are just about
Yeah.
to sign with us.
Mm.
Another week we'll have like workshops on for model development, runway workshops for models. If it's like a casting season, a lot of emails every day. That is like without fail.
Yeah.
Meetings all the time just to kind of like bring people in. So we're
Yeah.
always working with Griffith and QT with
Oh
their
yeah.
film students to get them experience and their photography students.
Oh
So we
wow.
have internships because we have a studio. We kind
Yeah.
of just want to utilize it so we allow like students who are studying to shoot our models in the space for like
Mm.
free in exchange for like building them up and kind of everyone getting to collaborate.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's kind of different every day. That's, I guess, like an overall glance at what a week would look like
Mm.
as a talent agency. As an agency as a whole, it's a lot of organizing people for me now. So
Hmm.
it's less doing, like, I'm still doing the model managing, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of like giving approval to things like workshops and things like that.
Yeah.
But we're doing a lot of concept campaigns and things like that at the moment. So
Mm.
literally just me giving approval on those.
Makes sense.
Meeting with designers for culture. Like there's just like so many different things that happen every day.
Yeah.
Um, it hasn't actually changed too much because a lot of the stuff that we were doing was creative anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very much similar, just like the added stress of social media management, things like that, which I just oversee. I don't actually,
Yeah, that's fortunate. I
yeah,
would hate to be doing everything you're doing as well as social media. This is
yeah.
like another whole job in itself.
Literally, like I run the social media for our Instagram, and
Mm.
it is the most stressful thing. Like, it stresses me out. Like, I'm doing that in Brisbane Fashion Week social media at the moment, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, don't want to do it anymore.
I've had
Someone
enough. Like, I just want to take a day off.
literally, I took my first day off last week on a Monday, random Monday. I was like, I need a day off,
Yeah.
and all the models and emails saying like, do not contact me. I'm having a day off, and it was my first day off in like 5 years of running the business
Wow.
because
As what? Yeah. Sorry.
I
Yeah.
oh sorry. But
No,
yeah,
you're right.
it's like in the last 5 years, I haven't been able to take a day off without someone calling me, without someone needing me for the business. And I was like,
Yeah.
you don't need me today. I need this day. So
It's like, figure it out, cool Gabby.
yeah, please, leave me alone.
I think so. Basically, well, we weren't going. I wasn't going to bring up the work-life balance because that was one of Pete's questions. But we'll do it. So it sounds like your work-life balance was very much work, work,
I don't have
work.
life. I have work balance, no work life
Wow.
balance. I'm still struggling with that. It's something that I'm conscious of though, and I think that's always the best way to be conscious of how you are.
Mm,
Just because like I feel burnout so hard,
yeah.
so I like always try and work through it Whereas like now I'm learning that I can't do go sprinting for 18 months
No,
straight and
no.
then be fine like I used to be.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I used to do like my overnights at Ampol, and then the
Mm.
days I'd be working on the business, and like it's just not sustainable to be like that anymore.
No, definitely wouldn't be. Heck no.
Yeah, so I think now like I'm taking more time out to go visit friends on my days off. I cut back, so I work at Hype as well on the
Hmm.
weekends. Um, I've cut back there, so I was working like 4 days for Hype,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I've just been trying to, yeah, more than anything, like see people. So I'm
Yeah.
not, or I should say, I've stopped saying no to going out and hanging out with
Or
friends.
socializing, but it's just
Yeah,
having that aspect because people want to have a relationship with you per se.
yeah,
In a sense, it's like just to see how you're going and everything, not just be like, oh, work is work and
yeah,
more work.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I found that like so many people were like, "Oh, so how's the business going?" And I'd move from like doing work to going to hang out with friends who will only want to hear about how work is going, and I was like, "No,
Oh,
stop."
that does make it tough. Yeah, that does make it tough. It's
But
like,
I've learned to kind of embrace it and be like, okay, they're asking me because I'm doing something big. So it's not
yeah.
that they're sitting here being like, oh, Caitlin's had a big work week. We're gonna ask her about work. They're here to like wanna see what I'm doing.
It's like, what have you done outside of work? Like, well,
Thing.
not much. I put the bins out. I may have forgotten one of the bins,
Yeah.
but we did that.
But I put it through like our driveway is tiny, but I got it out. I did it.
Yeah, it's little things, right? It's little things. You're right. So you're at least you're conscious of. I mean, that's definitely an important aspect of any
Yeah.
business. Is you need to be aware of, I guess, how much you're doing. Me personally, I have decided to take on another, I think, 2 or 3 businesses since I probably talked to you.
Yeah.
And I was on the phone to Pete the other day, and he's like, "You're probably doing too much." I'm like, I might be. I might be. So it's definitely important to keep that in
Yeah.
mind as you're going through. Which is also why I just had 2 weeks where I didn't do a podcast because I'm like, I'm just going to take a moment because I'm taking too much, and it's definitely important to keep that in mind. So when it comes to your business stresses, what stresses have you had within the business, and how have you overcome that?
Okay. I think the biggest stress, this is like going to be for everyone in business, but COVID was like the biggest stress.
Mm.
It was like a stress, but something we needed because it meant that we had to shut down for 3 months.
Yeah.
Um, Models couldn't work. We couldn't do much, but it gave me time to re-look at the business structure and kind of like move things in a way that work better for us. It gave me
Mm.
time to redo our whole website, all of this stuff that I just never had time to do, I got to do.
Mm.
But so with COVID kind of giving us that time where we didn't have work coming in, obviously, like financially, that was
Mm.
tough. We were at WeWork at the time, so we were paying a lot of money for rent.
Yeah.
We weren't able to even be in the office.
Oh wow, really? You have to
Well,
still pay rent?
yeah,
Jeez.
let's not talk about it.
Still a sore point? No, yep.
Sore point. Um, but yeah, so it kind of did though. That struggle taught me that we can get through anything. If I got
Yeah.
through 15 months at WeWork, being like we moved in November before COVID started. So pretty much our whole time there, it was
Yeah,
COVID.
wow.
And it was,
Oh,
yeah,
wow. And I had to pay rent even though we were at home.
yeah. Literally, we were working from home. And, like during that time, personally, I had a lot of struggles where I fell into like drinking to cope with everything and all of that stuff. I don't even drink anymore, really.
That's good.
Yeah, but it kind of like, I had to go through that little bit of a low point to get up and push the agency a bit more forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it was a bigger struggle. Like as a whole, that time was a struggle financially,
Mm.
personally, business wise, everything. But
Yeah.
it's definitely led to like without the struggle, we wouldn't be where we are today. So
Yeah. Yeah. As hard as it was, you're like, well, it sucked,
I
but it
never do
was
it
good.
again, but it was
Yeah, well, that's it. What it doesn't kill us makes us stronger, right? That's a thing. That's
yeah,
definitely a thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. So COVID was a big thing. And how do you think that has gone and shaped? As from that, brought any clarity on like, well, if this was to happen again, this is how we would deal with it? Or you just like, let's just not go through it again?
Let's not go through it again. But we've moved to a studio that is a lot more affordable, where we're not on an 18-month lease, we're month to month. So like we're
Okay.
very we're more financially responsible as well. So like
Yeah.
I think we'd just be more prepared next time. We'd know
Yeah.
how to move forward. And like after COVID, kind of like after we closed down for 3 months in
Mm.
Brisbane, when we opened back up, Melbourne and Sydney were still closed. So like they were sending all the jobs to Brisbane. So in a way, we were getting more jobs once COVID kind of
Everything. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
we were able to open up again. So what,
Yeah.
like I said, it was kind of like a good thing and a bad thing. Wasn't so
Yeah.
great, but it did bring a lot of internet. Like we had one wedding designer fly a dress to us for us to shoot with a photographer in
Oh
the
wow.
studio. Like the
Good
rates she was
grief.
paying was insane. And she was like, well,
Mm.
no one in Melbourne can do it. We can't leave our house. We can't work. Like,
Yeah. It's like we need it done,
yeah,
so please get it done. Well, I guess that's a bonus. It's like because Queensland decided to get out of COVID before everyone
yeah.
else. It was just like, well, we'll take all the work, and obviously with that added work, you managed it all right. Like it wasn't too much of a stress, or did you have to employ more people or do more hours? Like,
I think because we've always been doing like the same capacity. It's just we've been doing so when we first started, a lot of the shoots we were doing were test shoots, and we just
yeah,
replaced those with paid shoots. So it wasn't like
okay,
it was too much of a change. If anything, we moved from like 2 days a week to 4 days a week. Um,
okay,
but even then, it didn't really feel like it because the office energy is so chilled out that we just kind of come in and go. Like some nights I'll be until midnight, but
yeah,
it's like good vibes. So it's kind of like even when the workload picked up and we had to kind of like work a bit harder, it
mm.
still didn't feel like we had to overall.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've gone and sorted out a good business culture, which Pete will definitely want to talk and pick your brain about because he's all about business culture. Whereas me, I'm like, I've got me, myself, and I. I do the work when I need to do the work. and, but we'll leave that for when Pete jumps on because we are actually going to get Caytlan back on for a second time. But before we do that, this was one of the other questions which I didn't actually send to you. Was like, because I was like, how do you make money doing fashion? So, paid shoots, is that majority of it? Like, break down. Like,
Okay.
can you break down a rough, like, how your business makes money,
Okay.
basically?
So
Because
we
I don't know.
compared to other agencies in the area and international. So we've got a model in Milan at the moment. So we earn a commission on any paid work that he does there.
Okay.
So pay there is very good. But in Milan, so models have to pay like $100 a month to be signed with an agency, which is
Okay.
ridiculous. But it comes out of paid work. Um,
Right.
it's pretty much across the board that agencies will have like little fees like that. Our fee is $10 a month.
Oh,
Pretty chill.
wowzers.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So like all of our models that aren't scouted that apply to us, like if we scout a model, we don't expect them to pay anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if they apply to us, they pay $10 a month. And they
Mhm.
have a sign-on fee of 150, which goes into like their first shoot that we do.
Okay.
We have like 15% commission off any paid work that we organize. If we
Mhm.
are able to do like a licensing agreement with a client, we keep the licensing agreement and then we
Mhm.
also charge a higher model fee. So like
Okay.
for example, like I'm trying to think. If a model were to do like a campaign store, like store campaign thing, um,
Mm.
we would charge their rate at twice the time of its usual, and then
Okay.
we'd have a set rate per store that had that on display,
Okay.
and then that would be like a licensing fee as well. So the model's
Right.
being paid for their time. We're getting paid for the bonuses we can chuck onto the job.
Yeah, I gotcha. Which is what you're now doing with the agency, with the
Yeah, yeah.
social media and everything else. Um, Interesting. So it's kind of from what it sounds like, it's more like it's almost like sponsorships, sort of. But I'm just trying to put it in terms that I understand. Uh, where basically, essentially, somebody commissions a job for advertising mainly products, or is it usually fashion or
It's usually,
both?
I mean, it's both, but like a lot of the time it's fashion over anything. Like We have,
Yeah.
and we're pretty good as well. I mean, we've got a studio, so we can hire the studio.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So like,
True.
if there's a photographer that's like, oh my God, I love your model. Can they do a collaborative shoot with me? I'll be like, yeah, sure, but you've got to hire the studio. So
Okay,
like,
so yeah, there's a little bits like that. Okay, that makes sense. Like, so you've got a space that people can lease from you.
yeah, yeah.
You've got the different campaigns, and then you've got all your add-ons. So
And then
upsells.
and we pre-COVID, we did fashion courses.
Okay.
We're going to bring those back soon.
Okay.
It's just a bit of a busy time, so we're going to wait till after fashion is over.
Yeah.
We're looking to get like a different space that's like our own space, because where we're working at the moment, it is also a co-working space. So we've got like our studio and stuff, but there's
Okay.
a bunch of other creatives that work in the same space as us.
Gotcha.
So we're
Yeah. Right.
working towards opening our own studio.
Nice. Well, so that comes into like another one of the questions is like, where do you want to see your business in like the next 6 months per se? By the sounds of it, in your own place.
Yeah, we've already been looking, but crazy fact, a lot of real estate agents are really not nice.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so we've dealt with a lot of rude people that are like condescending towards us because they don't think what we do is achievable in a
That's what I was going to say. I'm like, is it because they don't think it's a proper business?
yeah.
Or?
Yep. So they kind of like look at it like, oh, how are you going to be able to afford this? All you do is represent models or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, actually,
Yeah.
no, once we've got our own space, we're going to be able to have like
Yeah.
available studios for public hire. It won't just be for our models, because like that's the only way we can use our studio is if it's with our models. So we can't really make
Yeah.
money off anyone just hitting us up and be like, can we use your studio?
Yeah.
We've kind of got to infiltrate our models somewhere.
Yeah. Because that's how you're going to get money.
Yeah. So it'll open up a lot more opportunities for us. We're looking at getting. Actually, I can't say the next one. I can't.
That's okay. Okay, so for those that just missed that whole cut, basically in 6 months' time, roughly, well, we're hoping 6 months' time, we'll probably get Caytlan back on before then. But essentially, in the future, there's going to be some fun things coming up. But hopefully, we'll be able to get her on to talk about that when it's live.
Yeah.
I got exclusivity, so it is what it is. We take it. Basically, it says like it's going the right way, and it seems as though a lot of your sort of, I guess, income that you get from your business is through commissions and offering up services. So I do have another question about your marketing schedule, tactics plan. Like, how do you market your agency? Or is it a lot of word of mouth? Like, what's your
It's a bit of both. Like, this is gonna sound really crazy, but it's on track, I promise. But so my mum was at work the other day. She's the head of like clinical management at a nursing home. She's very high up in her role. And she was outside having a smoke, and there were these three girls sitting outside, like talking. And they were talking about how their friend just got signed with a modeling agency called Rebel Talent.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, what's that? And they were like, oh, it's like this really cool agency. Like, they're so cool. Like, everyone there is great. They have the best models. And then my mom's like, oh, do you know Caytlan by any chance? And they're like, oh, we love Caytlan. Like, she's so good. She's so good with the models and blah, blah, blah. And then my mom took it as she would and was like, oh, yeah, that's my daughter.
Classic. Like, that's all me. That's all me.
Our stuff is literally word of mouth. Like,
Gotcha.
I think Benny, who we just signed, he signed with us because he's friends with the lead stylist at Universal Store. And they were like, oh, you should apply to them. Like, there's so many people in the industry, especially in Brisbane, who just know who we are.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, like when I was...
That's good. That's a good thing to have.
Yeah, when I was on the Sunshine Coast, I remember being out on a date. And this is like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, this is for real. I was on a date and some girl came up to me and was like, sorry, are you Caytlan from...
She's famous, guys. Caytlan is famous.
No, but like the guy sitting across from me was like so confused. And I was like, looked at her and I was like, no, I'm not. And she was like, oh, sorry. And I'm like, I actually am sorry. But
it's like, I'm not super famous. It's just I'm well known.
Yeah, that's it. It's more like people in the industry, especially aspiring models, look up to what we do. because we were the first to do, regardless of how many inclusive agencies are out there, we've been going since 2017. So we've been
Yeah,
doing
wow.
those for a long time now.
I didn't even realize you were going for that long. My
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah. Well, it started as like a concept in 2017, had my first 20 models, and then we launched 2018.
Wow.
Yeah, but in terms of marketing, we also do like, I refuse to pay for ads and things like that because I'm like, it's not about the money you put into advertising, it's about the money you put into the actual what you're advertising.
Yeah.
So like we did like a promo video to showcase all of our talent in a way that
Mm.
represents us. That was like so expensive, but we didn't pay to advertise it at all. And the engagement on that video was insane. Just because,
Yeah, right.
oh my God, this is beautiful, amazing. People were like, where's the
Mm.
sound? We chose to have no sound in the video. So it was just like,
That way you get people like commenting like, hey, was there a technical problem? Like, no, we just want the algorithm. Thank you.
yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so
it
good.
was such a good video. Like it was an amazing project that we worked on.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
that did so well for us as well. So I think more than anything, I love LinkedIn as well. I use LinkedIn as like the biggest marketing tool
Yeah.
ever. You see me posting literally.
I do. It's pretty much like the first 2 or 3 posts. Anytime I like jump over, I'm like, oh, Caytlan's doing some more posting.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. Honestly, it's like brought in so many clients for us.
Yeah.
And I have like 900 followers on LinkedIn. Don't mean to brag, but I've got a lot.
My goodness,
Yeah.
look out. And because I've got like none, which is fine. I'm not really worried about that. But is that a lot? Like a
Yes.
decent amount compared to? All right, there you go.
Because like the amount of times I get banned from adding people on LinkedIn is ridiculous. I get
Really?
banned. That's how many people I add.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So like you don't know this many people. I'm like, I do actually.
I'm like, maybe I
I
do.
have an agency.
Me adding everyone that has fashion.
Like the face looks familiar. It looks familiar.
Literally.
They probably know me. They probably know me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so many like great paid jobs that we've done have arisen from LinkedIn posts.
Yeah.
A lot of our followers, like they won't know who we are, and then they'll be seeing me posting on LinkedIn and then go and follow
Yeah.
us on Instagram. So like
Perfect.
I think just using social media quite actively is a great marketing tool
Yeah.
in itself.
Agreed.
My partner's also a social media content manager at an agency.
That
So
is
he's
very
always
handy.
given me some tips there. But also like my degree was in social media as well. So like I know stuff, like there's a bit of
There's crossover, yeah. Well, that's. I mean, there you go. So essentially, you target the algorithm
Yeah.
very sneakily, which is a good thing. And to more or less wrap it up for today, because we'll go into more questions next time. If you could give yourself advice from when you were starting to now, what would that be?
Oh, this is a good one. I think I would tell myself that like you've just got to breathe. All the hard shit that's gonna come is gonna pass.
Yeah.
You're gonna go through the worst time of your life to get out the other end, and it's gonna be okay. And just to
Yeah.
keep holding on because there's so many people that support what is being created at Rebel Agency. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Now, for those that want to get in contact with you or check out your website, agency, all the socials, where can they find you? I'll link this all down below as well.
Awesome. So our website is rebelrebel.agency, no .com. It is .agency.
Have you thought about getting .com as well, just in case people chuck that in?
No, yeah. So we've got it, so it's like Rebel. If someone accidentally puts Rebel Talent in, it refreshes back Rebel Agency. But all of our like Google stuff is updated, so it's kind of like there's no way.
Rebel Agency, yeah.
Rebel Agency. Our Instagram is rebelrebel.agency. TikTok is the same, and then LinkedIn is Rebel Agency as well.
Yep. So they've got LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and the website. Do you have Facebook?
Yeah, but we don't really. It's kind of like cross post. It's not really actively being used.
So those that use Facebook, it's there as well. Perfect. So until next time, thanks for coming on, Caytlan. It's been great. We've got to know a little bit more about you. make sure all those that are listening and watching, like, comment, share, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Go and follow all of Caytlan's socials, all of the 4 people that we have that watch the video. You know what? It's when we get really big, and then you're already really big, so that's fine. It'll be great. We'll
No,
probably do
I'll
another
share it.
half
I'll
a
be
dozen.
like, everyone jump on this, get on it.
Oh, and that's how we became millionaires. We got Caytlan on. We got Caytlan on, and we did an interview with her. But it has been great. We will continue to chat over the next week or two. But yeah, until next week, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Next week we will have Pete back on. We will probably talk about the tax, the government. How'd that go for you, by the way? Just as a side note, whilst you're here, has the new government stuffed you around at all with your business or no?
No.
Sweet, great. It's just like, no, nothing's changed. We avoid politics at all costs. Fair enough. But yes, next week Pete should be back on, hopefully, and then in the next few weeks or months we'll figure out something. Caytlan will also be back on, because Pete is 100% going to have so many more questions, like probably more like around staffing and everything with that. But it has been great. Thanks for coming on finally after 3 weeks of knocking you back. It has been fabulous. So until next time, guys, have a great week, and we will see you next week. Thanks.